called The View?
It's called The View. It's not called The Facts.
Yeah, but isn't it interesting that it's called, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America.
But
there is one view.
Right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the corner.
That's correct.
Sunny Hostin never stops ripping on the cops. View co-host Sunny Hostin says she introduced her son to the police ahead of time so they don't harass him for jogging in her all-white neighborhood.
One, it began like any other morning on The View, cameras rolling, polished smiles, and a panel of hosts primed to outshine each other. But what started as ordinary chatter quickly erupted into a live spectacle you couldn't tear your eyes away from. Picture it, Sunny Hostin leaned in, exuding that sense of moral certainty, delivering a line she assumed would land flawlessly. Instead, it blew up spectacularly. The backlash arriving sharp and immediate from two voices rarely aligned on anything. Greg Gutfeld moved first, composed, confident, with a smirk that suggested he'd anticipated the twist all along. Then Bill Maher followed, calm yet cutting, tearing through her arguments with surgical accuracy. Together, they didn't just counter her points. They exposed the facade entirely, blending wit, reason, and timing so precise it made the segment a masterclass in televised dismantling.
To hear you use the term, because historically, as you know, because I think you're quite brilliant, that woke is a word used by the Black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
But words migrate.
Why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, and originally that was absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice, who's not for that? But words do migrate. Now, I'll use any term you want.
Okay.
Because maybe that is a word that's triggering, and so let's not use that word. I don't know, want to call it the super far left?
Okay, so there is Bill just laying out something true. You can see the way Sunny Hostin, the way she's touching her above her eye, and she can't even look at him as she's talking to him because she's an activist, not a journalist or whatever it is that she purports to be.
What made it brutal was how completely caught off guard Sunny looked. She froze mid-thought, her expression flickering between disbelief and panic. The unmistakable look of someone realizing their narrative had just been rewritten on live TV. Still, she pressed on, clinging to her point like it might save her. But what followed wasn't recovery, it was televised unraveling. The silence that hung in the air made the tension deafening. And the cruel twist, the real damage hadn't even begun. Desperate for control, Sunny tossed out the word woke like a last-minute grenade meant to end the exchange. Instead, it exploded in her own hands, backfiring as the audience and critics alike saw her lose the room entirely.
I think a conservative once said to me, what you guys in the liberal side of it don't get about Donald Trump is we don't like him either.
Yeah.
It's just that in this country, it's binary. I mean, gender may not be binary, but politics is. You only get two choices. And the stuff that they are afraid of, they see Donald Trump as a bulwark against, and that stuff is a lot closer to the home. It's like my kid is coming home from school and they're not allowed to tell me if they're transitioning. The school is going to take the side of the kid over the parent, stuff like that.
She argued that conservatives had stolen the term, twisting it from its roots in Black activism. But Maher wasn't having it. Calm and precise, he didn't dismiss its history. He revealed how the term had morphed into satire, even among its earliest supporters. He didn't attack origins, he exposed decay. The blow landed perfectly. Somewhere along the line, a movement meant to pursue justice had turned into a contest over who could sound the most outraged. The room shifted instantly, faces tightened, eyes darted. And even Sunny's co-hosts seemed to shrink in their seats. Greg leaned back, smirking. He didn't have to speak. Sunny spiraled, grasping for control. Her rambling detours on Instacart tipping and fire logs exposing the absurdity. What unfolded wasn't conviction, it collapsed. A desperate scramble to sound profound while the argument crumbled beneath her. Greg and Maher weren't just countering her, they were dismantling the illusion piece by piece.
It's about the view. It's become like a medical hospital that displays human misfailure. Here, let's look at this political oddity. It really is like the left-wing equivalent of a carnival sideshow, except instead of bearded ladies and fat clowns and two-headed cows. Well, let me rephrase that. But The View is a victim of the sunk cost fallacy. How can you now speak the truth when for years you've been telling lie after lie after lie? Now you're carrying this big bag of rocks around you because it's too harmful for their ego to admit that we really were dishonest.
Then came the moment That set the internet ablaze. Maher didn't raise his voice, he didn't need to. One quiet line cut deeper than any insult. Reality doesn't require a trauma resume. The room froze. Sunny blinked, stunned, like someone had pulled the plug mid-performance. Maher laid it out plainly, the voices that once championed truth and free speech had become the loudest enforcers of conformity. The irony hung heavy. Greg jumped in next, calling The View exactly what it had become, a political circus dressed as conversation. A hospital for human misfailure, he said, slicing through tension with brutal precision. Sunny's points had devolved into scattered anecdotes and emotions. At one moment, she couldn't meet anyone's eyes, fidgeted, rubbed her forehead, and searched for an exit that didn't exist. There was no escape. The lights were on, unforgiving.
We have our own kind of way of demonizing, but we don't do it the way we'll say.
We do it tastefully.
Tastefully, I think we're very low key in demonizing people. We'll say you smack of socialists, but we won't call you. But we go but it is nice. I do think it's refreshing that they've moved on from Hitler. They probably had a morning meeting. They probably had Pol Pot. Now, not enough people know who Pol Pot is. Mao, well, he's kind of short. So maybe Mussolini was tall, and that's why they said pint-sized Mussolini. The point is, people have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions? Yeah. Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say in The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there.
This wasn't just about her opinions. It was about how unprepared she was when confronted with people who refused to tiptoe around her. Applause didn't come. The set held dead air, as if everyone waited for someone else to break the silence. Then the tension snapped. Greg delivered a blow that stunned even the audience. Sunny doesn't form her own opinions, she gets them from her husband. She's not very bright, gasps, merciless. Sunny froze. Maher stepped in, not to attack, but to ground reality. He didn't rant or sneer, he spelled it out. Truth landed harder than any insult. Sunny tried to pivot, retreating to buzzwords and slogans, but Greg stopped her cold. You're not a journalist. You're an activist pretending to be one. The tension was electric. This wasn't just debate, it was a reckoning to seasoned commentators exposing how shallow, rehearsed, and disconnected The View had become, with Sunny at the center as the perfect example.
Can we just understand that part of our sorry racial history in this country is that the point of view from a black person is often going to be very different and sometimes shocking to a white person.
View co-host Sunny Hostin says she introduced her son to the police ahead of time so they don't harass him for jogging in her all-white neighborhood. Roll it, Elvis.
As a mother of black children, I know that black boys are not given the presumption of innocence and the presumption of youth. I have had to be in the position where I have gone to my local police department because I know my son is going to be training for the Junior Olympics, running around the neighborhood in an all-white neighborhood, and I have brought him to the police and said, he belongs to me. This is my son. Do not harass him. Do not stop him.
And just when it seemed the meltdown had peaked, Sunny hit a new level of cringe. She fired off takes like a contestant auditioning for most out-of-touch commentator. Every line sounded lifted from a panic-induced Google search. She came armed not with insight, but a buffet of reheated talking points, served with her signature grin and the conviction of someone who mistakes volume for logic. Her tone became full motivational speaker mode, enthusiasm without coherence. Greg and Maher stopped engaging. They watched as her reasoning crumbled. Words ricocheted from brunch stories to systemic injustice to oat milk prices. No thread connecting them. It wasn't commentary, it was chaos wrapped in confidence. Maher gave her a patient, almost pitying look. Greg smirked, one raised eyebrow, and her rant became unintentional self-parody. Then she hit a new low, claiming nuanced conversation was a form of privilege, logic inverted. Maher didn't flinch. One simple line ended it.
But don't tell me the left had...
Maybe the super far right.
He's talking about the left. Well, then
Okay, but we talked about that. I mean, I think we agree about the danger of the super far right, and I can't say it enough. I think they're the bigger threat. But don't tell me that the left hasn't changed.
She is feeling guilty about being a successful black lady who lives with white people, so she has to play.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Successful slave-owning black woman. Get it right.
Yeah, slave owning. Her ancestors owned
Yes.
slaves. So she has to play up this I am a target of oppression, so she can remain on a credentialed level with other blacks.
Reality doesn't require a trauma resume. That one quiet line from Maher ended it. Clean, final. No shouting, no snark, just truth. Sunny froze, blinking, buffering. Her playbook was exposed. If your experience mirrored hers, you were enlightened. If not, You were ignorant or part of the patriarchy. Conversation wasn't conversation, it was control. Logic failed, rules shifted, experience mattered only when convenient. Her arguments twisted and tumbled, leaving contradictions dressed as moral clarity, not a debate. But confusion and couture, Greg's smirk said it all, amused and vindicated. Sunny reached for moral high ground. Greg was watching a live comedy special. Unraveling complete, her argument trapped itself. Maher and Greg unwrapped it to find nothing but air.
For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from Europe.
I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared roots.
Yeah.
The preacher who came to lecture now struggled to justify her own reasoning. Sunny tossed another grenade. Republican women, she claimed, blindly follow their husbands to protect the patriarchy. The table froze, not due to insight, but absurdity. She wasn't disagreeing, she was condemning them as brainwashed housewives. Greg tilted his head, expression blank. Like watching a slow-motion car crash, Maher didn't reply. The statement collapsed under its own weight. Sunny doesn't invite discussion, she issues moral verdicts. Every disagreement becomes accusation. She craved validation, applause, nods, none came. Instead, stunned silence reigned. She powered through, mistaking volume for victory. Credentials meant nothing. Facts meant nothing. Insight vanished behind identity politics and performative outrage. Maher and Greg didn't plan a takedown, they circled weaknesses from different angles. Greg, sarcasm. Maher, intellect, exposure, not bullying. Logic wilted outside her echo chamber. Without scripted approval, she crumbled. Her activism was posture, buzzwords, and outrage without substance. Maher and Greg weren't attacking, they were saving the conversation. Sunny, unaware, kept performing for applause that never arrived. Then came the final hit. Maher leaned back. How can someone claim to be open-minded while canceling anyone who thinks differently? No theatrics, no spin, just truth. Sunny froze, silence. Maher and Greg didn't gloat, the moment did it for them. She roasted herself, logic in ashes, confidence intact, the illusion shattered, live on air.